What's up, guys? Welcome back to Almost Functional 40K. I'm here to give you the breakdown from the RTT I went to yesterday with the Space Wolves list. I was at Game Garrison in Fredericksburg, Virginia. It was a 20-man RTT, so not bad. Uh, so first, we'll also run you back through the list we took. This is the one that won the vote on the poll over the Death Watch for me to take. We had Bjorn, we had the Primaris Librarian with Bolter Discipline, and then we had Ragnar Blackmane, the Librarian with the Warlord. We had the 6-man squad of Blade Guard vets to one with Ragnar. We had a 9-man Desolation squad running with the Primaris Librarian. That way they could all fit in the drop pod. If I need to, there's the drop pod. The Inceptors, 2 Inceptor squads with Plasma, 2 Infiltrator squads, 2 Scout Sniper squads, the Thunderfire, the Vindicator, and a Calidus. So with the Calidus and Bjorn, I have 2 Vects, which is the ability to make people's stratagems cost more CP. The drop pod didn't have the same thing in it every mission. As we talked about, it was there for Ragnar's unit, the Desolations, and depending on the matchup, and if I wanted them both on the table, I would just throw an Infiltrator or Scout into it just so the drop pod didn't auto-die. And so I'll get into how I used it each game. So that was it. So my first matchup was into Adeptus Mechanicus, a guy named Ryan Lappin, pretty good player around here locally. Played him a few times. So his list was Cybernetica Datasmith, Tech Priest Dominus, Tech Priest Engine Seer, Tech Priest Manipulus. I had a Skitarii Vanguard. He had 3 Skitarii Vanguards. One of them had one of the characters with it. He had 3 Dune Riders. He had a 4-man Castellan Robot, a 6-man Breacher Squad, 3 Dune Crawlers, and then 2 Exaction Squads. So the Dune Riders, those are the transports, so we had the Vanguards riding in those. Alright, and so let's see how this game went. Where's the thing? Alright. So I ended up losing this game 90 to 53. I hadn't played into AdMech yet. So same issue I had with the Tau at ATC. I kind of took them for granted that I should win this game, and early on made some priority targeting decisions that weren't necessarily great for me. So the mission was taken hold. So obviously nobody scored anything. Primary. He got 5 on cleanse. He pushed out and just did that with a little Skitarii squad. Then I got a 3 for engage, and I got a 5 for overwhelming force because I tilled 2 Unisos objectives. So basically, turn 1, he pushed one of his Skitarii squads with the character in it out of the transport and charged one of my infiltrator squads on an objective. And didn't kill him. Ended up coming out of the wall. So that actually on my turn made me able to send stuff over there. So I picked up everything in that unit except the character and ended up with 1 wound left. Then is push another unit to the center, which he used to do his one of his cleanses. I managed to pick that unit up, and then he pushed another unit to the far objective. These are the no-man objectives for me to cleanse there. I also had a scout squad on that objective behind some crates, so he couldn't shoot them or charge them, but he managed to get more OC on it, so he was able to cleanse. And I start just trickling them away with the Thunderfire. And he went first. So on his first turn, I rapid ingressed. I had Ragnar and the Blade Guard in the drop pod. So I rapid ingress the drop pod, pop out, and then on my turn, I move up and I go to. He's got the Cataphrons in a building, and he's got the Castellan robots right there out in the middle. So I'm close enough where I can charge either one and hopefully cripple it or pick it up. In the past, I'd always had real issue with the robots being the toughest thing in AdMech. I don't remember Cataphrons being super strong, so I ended up deciding to concentrate on the robots, and I killed them down to 1 robot on 1 wound. So I thought, alright, plan's going according to action. His turn, those Cataphrons pop out and pick up Ragnar and his whole Blade Guard. They end up doing, them and that character do a lot of work. So looking back, I should have taken them out, especially since his robots only had the flamers on them for a 12-inch range. They are kind of punchy. so I didn't want to get in combat with them, but I could have stayed out of their range, where the Cataphrons just were devastating in shooting. Like, everything was 3 damage. Like, uh, so that I think was the first major misplay. I do like the rapid ingress play, but I think if I pick up the Cataphrons, which were actually easier to pick up than the robots because they're not as tough as the robots, and leave the robots, I think that actually plays well into my hands. Uh, but I didn't. All right, and so then turn 2, he got 10 for holding 2, and then he got 2 for extend battle line. So secondaries aren't doing great so far. My turn, I also get 10, and then I get 5 for extend battle lines. Uh, and then turn 3, why do I have a 0 there? He never took my backfield objective. So I think I scored this wrong here. This should be a 5, I think. I mean, it's still a loss. Like, it's not enough to change it, but so I had a 5 or a 10 here. I just didn't. So this should be like 63 or 58. But anyway, still a loss. Uh, so double check your scoring before you put your scores in. I was just really disappointed in how I played, so I really didn't really pay that much attention to it. I didn't go back through this uh, till just now. Um, but anyway, he got a 10, so I got a 10, and then I got 5 on extend battle lines. I drew area denial, which, with him having the Cataphrons, they were sitting in the middle now. I had one infiltrator left alive there, so I was like, all right, I had one or two options. I could kill his one unit that was on one of the far objective, the one next to my scouts, and pick them up and take that away from him, or try to dump everything into this Cataphron squad and kill it, which had no line of sight with the desolation, so it was just going to be indirect. So it was like, there wasn't a guarantee of killing it. It's probably more likely than not that I wouldn't. But I was like, screw it, let's go for it, which, looking back, is a mistake. Uh, so I should have just left that alone and killed the unit on the far objective, which would have skewed primary heavily. And I think that decision there possibly could have won the game for me. If I pulled off the area denial, it would have been a huge win if I pulled off that play. But I should have went for the smarter play, which would have been a close win. Uh, but anyway, so I failed the air denial, ended up discarding it. So then he ends up getting a 15 because not only did I not kill that one unit off objective, I failed to take the middle objective. So he ended up getting to hold 3. Whereas if I just kill that little unit, it's only a 10, and then I have my scouts over there. So then this would have been a 10 for me. Yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah, so this was a 5, and it would have been a. So this would have he would have went to a 10 here, and I would have been a 10 here. Then I did get no prisoners and a tempting target. And then he 15 the rest of the game because that unit stickied his objective, and he was able to get over and kill my scouts. Or if I pick them up, this isn't stickied, and so he probably 10s on all these, and I 10 here. So that would have been a 10, 20 point swing. So I would have gone up to 73, and he would have lost 15 there, which would have brought him down to, I can't do math, 75, right? 80, 75. Yeah, so that's a 2 point game there. And then that little unit was able to do, so he had a Stormhouse objective, he got tempting target, he got area denial, he got behind him now. So it didn't score many secondaries there. I failed to get a tempting target. I did get defense stronghold. Failed to bring it down. I did get investigate signals, which if I had the scouts alive, I could have got a second signals. And if I played, where did my Calidus? I should have been able to get 2. Oh, I tried to make on the area. I tried to make a stupid charge with the Calidus into the middle of the table. Uh, But that was because I was after these mistakes I was buying, so I was going for Hail Marys. So I would have had her alive because I wouldn't have had to try that. So the scouts would have got me one, and she would have got me one. So I probably got an extra 4 there. So that would have taken me to 79. So I probably could have pulled out like a 79-75 win if I'd have played smart, even after throwing Ragnar Squad away. If I don't throw a Ragnar Squad away and I take out those Cataphrons, uh, then if he leaves the robot to hold the middle like the Cataphrons were, the robots don't have the range to shoot from there. So he either has to leave that middle objective to have them actually come do any damage to me, or I just don't have to worry about damage coming from the middle and I can actually really crush those sides. So I think if I take those Cataphrons out, I actually get a fairly significant win. Uh, Going for the robots instead was a little mistake that I still could have pulled a win out of. But then trying to go for the Cataphrons after that, just trying to go for the big win when I'd already made a pretty decent mistake, instead of just playing the mission for the little win, just snowballed this into a pretty bad loss. Uh, so I would put this down to not the list. It had all the tools to win this game. I would put this down to me, which tends to happen a lot in the first rounds of tournaments because since I moved to Virginia, I don't get as much play testing as I used to. So I just tend to find, especially when I'm tweak lists. So this list had no play tests going into this. It was all just theory. So this was the first time actually putting it on the table, and add that to my inexperience playing AdMech just led to multiple mistakes that a player as good as Ryan isn't going to let me get away with and pull out a win. So definitely not upset with the list. It was definitely my issues with that. So then having lost, I pared down to another play with a loss. I played into a guard list. He was running 3 tank commanders, a Baneblade, a Hydra, and 3 regular Lehman Russes. Really nice guy, but not a great player. So I kind of knew this was going to be a win. I just needed to play smart and let him make the mistakes, kind of like what Ryan did to me the first game. So then his list. So my last 2 opponents, their lists weren't uploaded. So we'll just go into this. So he ended up getting first turn. I had deployed my. Oh, in the case I didn't mention this, this was player placed terrain. So we were able to place our own terrain. So I was able to set mine up so he wasn't really able to get shots on me. And then he took tactical objectives instead of instead of fixed, which I talked to him after and told him with his list he needs to take fixed because he doesn't have the units to do a lot of these tactical objectives. He does push his tanks out, so he's probably good at engage, and he could possibly find a second one to take against most armies. So turn 1, he couldn't see me, couldn't kill anything, couldn't even get any shots off. But he pushed his whole army to the middle of the table. I guess just really thinking the Baneblade and the tanks would be really survivable. So I oathed the Baneblade. Once again, I rapid ingress the pod with Ragnar and the guys. So I put a bunch of shots into the Baneblade, then I charge it with Ragnar's squad and pop the +1 to wound strat, +1 AP strat. And I just pick up the Baneblade. I end up losing Ragnar's squad, but that's a fine exchange for the Baneblade. So I end up getting 8 for kill more turn 1 because we are doing Purge the Foe. I got my area denial engaged on all fronts. Then turn 2, he does get hold, kill more. Then he gets 4 for no prisoners. I get hold and kill. And then I get 5 for assassinations because I kill 1 tank commander. Then he gets hold, kill, and he gets defend stronghold. I get a hold more, and kill. I got cleanse, and I guess I got hold, kill more. So for cleanse and no prisoners. And then, once again, he got hold, kill more. He got 5 for assassination. He killed, what did he kill? He killed the librarian. Then he got Purge the Foe on Purge the Foe, I got a 12, so I got hold more, kill. I got 3 for deploy, and I got a 5 for extend battle lines. I discarded hostile objective because he was only holding the one in his deployment zone at this point. I didn't really have a good ability to get to it. Uh, then he got kill, kill more, hold, 3 for overwhelming force. Uh, then I got kill, hold. I got 2 for signals, and I got 5 for secure no man's land. So I kill. Bjorn just went crazy in this game. Bjorn and the Inceptors kill one Lehman Russian shooting. He charges in and picks up another, and then he comes over and he charges in a turn or two later and picks up a third one. So Bjorn really is responsible for 3 Lehman Russes, one of which was a tank commander dying. Killed another one to shooting. Killed the Baneblade. He still had the Hydra and 1 regular Lehman Russ and 1 tank commander alive at the end of the game. But I was just scoring all my secondaries and doing what I need to do on the objectives. I left 2 off of Purge Foe. I left 3 off of secondary, so I ended up with a 95-69. Uh, I don't feel like this was a good test for me or the list. It's his list was just so bad at secondary and with picking tactical that it was going to be really hard for me to lose this game. Uh, but his stuff is so hard to kill, and then Purge the Foe, uh, it was also going to be hard to completely shut him out. So if he had dropped a couple tanks and taken some exaction squads or some, what are the guard squads? Infantry squads, stuff like that to score objectives. He really could have made this a close game. Even just drop it, because the Baneblade did nothing, just walked out and died. So if he dropped that Baneblade, which is hard to maneuver around these tables, and just took a bunch of mission scoring elements there, he could really improve this list really well, and then that would have actually been a really good game. I would have been interested to fight into. But did what I needed to do, got back in the winner's bracket. I don't think this list proves anything about, or I don't think this game proves anything about the list, because I just don't think his list was very good. So, and that's no shade to him. Was a real nice guy. He's just not. Does seem like he's a high level competitive player, which is fine. We don't all have to be. Uh, so that was that game. And then the third game was actually into Tyranids. Uh, it's also not listed on there, but he went big bugs. He had Swarmlord. He had the Hive Tyrant. He had 2 Biovores, which are amazing in Tyranids. He had the Exocrine. He had a Lictor. He had 2 Maleceptors, 2 Trigons, a Tyrannifex, a squad of Tyrant Guard, and 2 squads of Zoes. Looking back after the game, I think he should probably drop one, if not both, the Trigons and just replace it with more Zoes, another Exocrine. I'm not sure what the points on Trigons are, but something like that. I think that would make the list a little better. But this is actually the list I had play tested my Deathwatch into and lost, uh, which was a little due to having never. It was the first time I'd ever put the Deathwatch on the table, so I played that a little wrong, but we won't get into that game. So this is another one. I ended up pulling out 99-86. Really close game. So this was priority targets where you can only score 10s, so for holding 2. And it was chosen battlefield, so we got to place. They did rule, just like a lot of places are, that the center objective stays fixed for chosen, and then we got to place the other 4. We placed them pretty evenly, so it didn't matter which side we got. It was going to be basically the same setup. And then with player placed, you can block whatever you want to block. So his turn, my turn 1, I got secure no man's land and area denial, which are great because I got first turn. So my scouts were able to. All my stuff was infiltrated right there to do it, so I really didn't have to do much or show much of my army. I just walked 1 scout squad out to the middle. Um, that's really all I had to do. But I oathed a Biovore and put the whole Desolation squad into it and picked it up just to get rid of one of those, because he took fixed and he took behind enemy lines and engage, and Tyranid just brilled it. And then I thought I had my whole deployment zone bubbled out to stop him from being able to drop any in. But then this is just a mistake on my part. One of the buildings on my side was so tall that he was able to drop the Biovore on the top level of it and be 9 inches away from me. So he actually ended up. I thought I was going to give him a 0 turn 1, and he actually ended up still being able to get a 5. So that's just stuff to remember when bubbling out, that especially the little stupid spores from Tyranids. Put one guy up on that second level, and it doesn't happen. So that would take 5 of them. So that's an easy position placement because the Calidus wasn't doing much. She's lone operative. I just put her on the second level of that building. Uh, or even on the top. They can't shoot her. This doesn't happen. So that's a little tactical misplay on my part, and good play on Sean for picking that up to see it. So I'm up 5 points turn one. I score my 10. I get overwhelming force. Or sorry, I get no prisoners. Overwhelming force I can't get because he doesn't really have anything easy to kill on the objectives. So I just scrap that. He gets his 10 this mission. It's really hard to not 10-10 all the way through. Then he gets 4 for behind enemy lines. And engage on all fronts. Uh, on my turn 2, I dropped the Plasma Inceptors in and picked up the second Biovore. So that really played in my favor. Forced him to have to push his army out. He had to drop his Lictor in. He dropped both his Trigons in to get points here. Because on his turn one, he did put a lot of shooting and managed to pick up one of my infiltrator squads, so it gave him a hole to drop those Trigons because they can drop closer than 9. I overwatched them with the Desolation and put one of the Trigons down to 2 wounds. So then on my turn, I got lucky. I drew Bring It Down, so I was able to pick up both the Trigons, the wounded one and the unwounded one. Uh, so then, so yes, so then I got 10. So I got 3 for cleanse. I was able to cleanse once, and then I got a 7 on Bring It Down because I killed the 2 Trigons. Then he got a 10. He got 3 for behind enemy lines because he only got 1 unit there, but he did get full engage on all fronts again. This was the Lictor. He got with the Lictor. Um, then I got a 10 again. I got 5 for behind enemy lines. The Calidus and one of my Inceptor squads managed to get over there. So then he got, and then capturing the outposts I wasn't able to do because the Inceptors had dropped over their turn before, and he had killed them. He popped. What did he? Did he? Was that the turn he did it? Yeah, I think this is the turn he popped his every die to take morale, and the Inceptors failed, so they weren't able to contest his objective. Otherwise, I would have really tried to kill. He only had 3 Zoes on it. Killed 2 of them. I would have taken it, but since I couldn't hold it anyway, I just didn't even go for it. I just ran them away to hide and do behind enemy lines. So then he got a 10 because we're just changing 10s at this point. He got a 3 for behind enemy lines, and he only got a 2 for engage on all fronts. Because this is just the Lictor at this point. He got in combat with the drop pod, which was fine. I didn't worry about trying to charge in and kill it because I knew he couldn't kill the drop pod. The drop pod actually ended up tying up the Trigon and the Lictor. He charged him, didn't kill him on his turn, didn't kill it on my turn, and then finally killed it on his second turn that he was in it. So that actually I think ended up working in my favor. Um, yeah, and so then I got a 10 and then a 10 at the end. I got 5 for extend battle lines and 5 for deploy teleport homers because the Calidus just still did my deploy. Then he ends up getting a 10 and a 5 because, or no, he got a 5 and then a 10 because he had to score at the beginning of his rounds, so he was able to clear one of my objectives. Also, he got a 5 and then a 10. He got a 4 behind enemy lines and then a 2 on engage on all fronts. So by taking his Biovores out early, which Desolations are good for and the Inceptors are good for, I was able to cost him 6, 7, 8, 9 points, because he probably maxes if I don't do that, which would have taken him to 95. So still not enough to win, but that's a super tight game. One other thing goes wrong, he can pull that game out. And then he's able to sit back and have more stuff to screen his zone and deny me secondaries. So if I don't take those Biovores out, I probably lose. So if you play somewhere where Tyranids or something you can expect to run into, you just need stuff in your list that can take out Biovores. If you can't take out Biovores, especially the big bug lists that can push and hold the middle objectives and are hard to kill, Tyranids are really tough if you're not playing like Eldar or some GSC or something top level like that. So, yeah, you need to, if possible, find some indirect, find some 3-inch deep strike, stuff that's good at charging, anything that'll help you get to those biovores. Uh, but this Tyranids are something I have a little experience with. I've played into this type of big bug list a couple times. Uh, I knew my list a little better now. Uh, I feel like I played this really well. Swarmlord did nothing this game because he's with the Tyrant Guard and they give their infantry. I was able to Thunderfire them the whole game. Uh, they end up killing Bjorn, but that was after Bjorn ran in and killed a Maliceptor and was really pretty weak. So I actually sacrificed him to pick that Maliceptor up, and they actually had to go far to my left to get him behind some crates, and I just kept Thunderfire. So by the time they worked their way back around the crates, Swarmlord didn't get a charge till bottom of turn 5 onto an objective that he had a Trigon on already, and all he had to do was kill a Thunderfire to take it. So really, Swarmlord got there, but he wasn't needed. So I really pretty much neutralized Swarmlord for the whole game, which was really key because if he can just run down my line, they just pick up a lot of stuff. So the Thunderfire was really big in this game. Scouts were okay. Lictor managed to come in and shoot and hit a long charge into one squad and pick him up. The other squad, he was able to get, I think the Trigon or something up close to him, pick them up early because they actually picked him up turn 1 because I had to send them out to do my secure no man's land and area denial. But I'll throw away a 75-point scout squad for 10 points all day. So they scored points. Well, the one scored points, the other died just because the Lictor got to it. But they forced the Lictor to drop over in a corner to get to them. So the Lictor really didn't get to do much other than charge a drop pod and just be stuck there and then die. So all the little tech piece in this did well. Ragnar Squad was amazing in this mission. So I played really defensive with them. I held them in the middle building. I dropped one of my buildings in the middle, and I had set the objectives since we get to place them so that the big building I had could actually hold both objectives from inside it. So I had Ragnar Squad sitting where they were touching within control range of both objectives and just sat there till I think it was turn 4. He pushed his Trigon around the side of my building where my drop pod stuff and some infiltrators to try to kill and start getting to that objective. And that allowed Ragnar Squad on turn 4 to run out and pick up the Hive Tyrant that he pushed to the middle objective. And then on turn 5, they made a charge into his backfield to pick up his Zonothropes on his back line. That's how I ended up holding him to a 5 on that last turn. And actually, if my Inceptors had made a 7-inch charge, I would have actually zeroed him because I would have hit one Zonothrope alive on another objective. I would have been able to contest that. But Ragnar's charge, if I needed either Ragnar's charge or that one to hit, and Ragnar's charge was better because it took a lot more models out, took more of his damage out, and then they were able to hide behind a wall and be hidden. So actually, Ragnar's squad lost like 2 guys that game, so that was the only game they lived. I didn't put them in the pod that game. In that game, I put the infiltrators in the pod, and I just held Ragnar's squad back as a counter, just in case Swarmlord ever did just make a push straight up the middle. So everything performed really the way I wanted. I really liked the list. After round 1, I was a little down on the list because I felt like, man, there was just nothing. I didn't have enough to deal with it. But it's because I threw assets away in the wrong places early. So late game, I didn't have the right stuff to deal with it. But that was because I threw it away. So I like the list. I think piloted better. It has a chance to win a little RTT. I don't know if it'll win a GT, a major, nothing like that probably. Not till Eldar and GSC and some of that stuff's reined in. But it has potential to win a 3-round RTT. And so then we'll go look at what the results were. If this wants to load. So we got Game Garrison in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So placings ended up being, we actually had Leagues of Votann take first. Adeptus Custodes got second. Thousand Suns got third. AdMech, this is the AdMech I lost to round 1. He actually lost top table to the Votann last round. Eldar in 5th, and then I don't know why it says Death Watch. It's supposed to be Space Wolves. I thought I switched that in the thing. All right, but and I end up getting 6 with the Space Wolf list. And then so a lot of people are like, well, how do Votann and Admech do that well? Well, let's go show the pairings. Let's see. Uh, this was he didn't put his list up. Let's see. Does it show? Yeah. So he played into no. That's not the right. Gosh darn it. Go to round 1. Yeah, the web app is sometimes a little weird. So let's see. Where is he at? So Ryan played me. So that's how that we went through how I lost that Admech game. I shouldn't have. So Ryan played into Tyranids, which with no list. So I'm not sure what this Tyranid list was, if it was a good Nid list or not. But so he gets a win against it. And Brendan's a really good player, and he plays Nids, so he knows what to do against Nids. He actually won the last RTT, the one I had to miss because of my sister's wedding, with a big bug list. So Brendan is a consistently well player, so he built a good Votann list that plays them. And like, I still don't think Votann are in like an amazing spot, but I don't think they're quite as bad as people think. But in the hands of a good player against someone who I don't think is quite as good a player, he's able to pull out a win there. And then we already talked about how the Admech beat me. Uh, and then go to round 2, see what they both faced. Let's see. Ryan played into Iron Warriors. Uh, so this guy was really nice. Had a really beautiful army, but not, Iron Warriors aren't necessarily top tier. So the AdMech was able to get a big win there. And then Votann into Ultramarines, uh, which William Tillman's a pretty decent player. Actually, let's look at his list. See how the Votann beat it. The Votans didn't have their list submitted. It was Thunderkin, Berserks, Sagittars. I don't know the exact number of each. Some warriors. So the Apothecary, we have Gilliman, Desolation Squad, Eradicator Squad, Lancer Squads, Inceptor Squads, Infiltrator, Thunderfire, Whirlwind, Calidus, Exaction Squad. Alright, so that's seems like a pretty decent list. Just from overhearing stuff, people talking, like I didn't actually talk to either of them, but apparently this was the kill more, hold more round. There was a turn or two where the Ultramarine player tried to kill. I don't know if he had bottom of turn, which might make sense. He tried to kill multiple Sagittars and stuff, and left a couple of them alive on 1 or 2 wounds. So ended up denying himself kills and giving the opponent kill more when he was trying to go for kill more himself, instead of tying the kill first and then trying, so ended up, if he'd killed one more, that would have swung the score, and then leaving them alive, they were also on objectives, from what I heard, so it also swung the hold more. So I think there was like 2-ish turns where stuff like that happened, which in this mission can be a really big swing. And then once that happened, then the strategy, you get that little bit of extra shooting, a little bit extra secondary scoring, just snowballs a little bit. So I don't think this is a matchup Votann win consistently all the time. I don't know if they win it in other matchups or in other missions, but you can only play who you're paired against. You can only play what missions are played. So Brendan did what he needed to do once again and got this win here. And like I said, Brendan consistently does that. So even if you think leagues aren't really that good, Brendan will bring that up a level. So say you think this is bottom tier or mid tier, it jumps up to mid tier or decent tier with Brendan piloting it, and then just getting into good matchups and outplaying people, getting into good, so he did manage to, and then these two played each other last round. So both of them dodged all the Eldar and all the Custodes at the tournament. I don't know if either of these lists beats those. Uh, I'm sure Brendan can find a way to beat a bad Eldar or Custode player, but like Steven, who got second, is a really good Custode player. I don't know if Votann has what it takes to beat that. It would be interesting to see. So, but that's another thing when you have 20 people at a three-man RTT and you end up with three undefeateds. Unless the whole tournament is just top armies with top players, you have the potential to sneak around some of the better players in better armies and pull out a 3-0. Um, it happens. So I don't wouldn't take this as saying Votann are amazing, but in the hands of a good pilot at local RTTs, you can do stuff with them. I wouldn't expect to do well at GTs and majors. It's like just the same with my list, but you can do okay. Have the potential with right matchups and missions to do good at RTTs. Uh, but you have to dodge custodes, you have to dodge Thousand Suns, whereas these you can just predict to do well in every tournament. Um, and I'm guessing this was battle points and not strength of schedule, because they're ranked by points, because custodes don't always win big. So that's why with the predicted, yes, so he has a strength of schedule 1.33. Uh, Steven also has a 1.33. Wins extended 2.11. Wins extended 1. Yeah. So if it was just off the strength of schedule before battle points, Steven probably would have won the event. Since I think they put battle points ahead of that, is why Brendan won, which is another reason I prefer strength of schedule, because you're getting hundreds against people. Because if this guy went 0 and 3 and this guy went 1 and 2, and then he's 2 and 1, whereas he beat this guy, and then he goes 2 and 0 after that, and this guy was 1 and 1, and then went his last game's 2 and 1, and this guy ends up 2 and 1. He could have opponents that over the weekend went, or over the day went 6 and 3, and his could have been 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 and 6. So I do think strength of schedule's a better metric, especially for smaller events where you don't get worked down to one undefeated. But that's just nitpicking. Uh, Congrats on Brendan. Steven, always great. I've played him a few times. I don't think I've ever played Dylan. But Steven's great to play. Brendan, I've got some practice games against. I don't know if we've actually played in an actual event. Uh, but Brendan's really nice guy. Steven's really nice guy. The whole local Virginia community is really nice, which coming from Tampa, where was another amazing community, I was glad to find another community that's not only very friendly and welcoming, but also high level competitive play. Um, because I would hate to have to only have one of those two things. Because I like playing high competitive, so playing that when other people don't, even if they're really nice people, just feels bad doing that. And then playing competitive against people who aren't chill and cool and just like it's just not fun. You need both of those things together to really enjoy high level competitive play, which I really really do. Even though don't seem to come out on the top of it much lately. I did with Votann when they first came out. Won a couple little things around here, but got a couple 3-0s that didn't quite win. But in 10th edition, since I've gone back to Wolves and Votann got nerfed, haven't quite. I've got a couple 2-1s, haven't been able to pull out the 3-0 yet, but we're going to get there. This list, I think, is good. I just have to get some more reps with it. Um, but that's it. Anyone who's still watching, thank you very much, and I will catch you guys next time.